As a registered dietitian that is quite passionate about infant and child nutrition, I actually champion for breastfeeding a lot because of the documented benefits of breastfeeding, like improved immunity, proper mental and brain development, among others. One of my key pointers that I usually use is the cost of breastfeeding. It's relatively cheap, or you can actually say it's free compared to the other substitutes that most moms usually use. Recently, I posted a video on my TikTok. The mom was kind enough to come to my inbox and tell me that I was lying to my audience about the cost of breastfeeding. So I will pose a question to you. Do you think breastfeeding is cheap? Do you think it's free? But first, let's get into the cost of breastfeeding, shall we? As a breastfeeding mom, your nutritional requirements actually go high. And for you to meet these increasing demands, you need to ensure that you're increasing your intake of nutritious and dense foods, things like quality protein, legumes, seeds and nuts, organic fruits and vegetables, to ensure that you're producing both quality and quantity milk for your infant, and also to ensure that you are protecting your nutrition status as a woman, because we don't want to experience the maternal deficiencies that I talked about in this particular video that come with breastfeeding. And to add on that, as a breastfeeding mom, we expect you to continue with the prenatals that you are taking during pregnancy to ensure adequate supply of the vital and the very important iron, such as iron, to prevent infant and maternal anemia that is also very common with breastfed babies whose moms are exposed to malnutrition. For most families in these hard economic times, ensuring that the nutrient requirements for the mom are well met to promote adequate breastfeeding, it can be a challenge. And that is why to majority of us, breastfeeding will be costly. But before we start comparison with the other substitute or the other feeds, let's get into the second cost of breastfeeding, and that is the breastfeeding attire, the breastfeeding friendly tops, dresses and breastfeeding bras. As an expectant mom, most of us spend the last trimester trying to get outfits that will help us conveniently breastfeed our babies. When it comes to breastfeeding bras, they are comfortable enough and they help us when you're trying to promote and maintain breast care, because other bras are quite uncomfortable. For most expectant women, they actually invest a lot in these attires, and that can be a challenge to most who are struggling financially. And the other thing, if you are a working mom, you might need to change your wardrobe. That becomes a challenge if you have issues with finances. But again, these dresses and these bras are not a must. They're just there because they make it convenient and easy for us to breastfeed. You can just continue with your normal outfits. The other expense that I'm going to talk about is the breast pumps and the other equipment that are needed to conveniently help you express milk. But again, remember that this is a one-off purchase and you can actually use this for your subsequent pregnancies. Another thing, if you invest in a good machine, it can actually help you maintain a good supply to ensure that the baby still has enough milk. Again, this is not a necessary expense when it comes to breastfeeding, because you can use your fingers to actually express milk from your breast. It is just an expense that is going to bring you more comfort and more convenience, because with the electric modern pumps, you can actually be expressing your milk while you're doing other chores, like maybe preparing breakfast or making your bed, to help you get more relaxed. And this will definitely help you improve on the quality and the quantity of the milk that you're going to have for your baby. Another expense that is actually associated with breastfeeding is basically time. If you're a businesswoman, or if you're employed, or you participate in any income generating activities, for you to conveniently and effectively support breastfeeding, you're going to have to take off time off your activities to ensure that you initiate and you support breastfeeding for your baby. It is also worth noting that whether you decide to breastfeed or not, you are going to need to take a break from those activities so that you can heal from the processes of childbirth. Why don't we just take off the break and breastfeed our babies, because you're going to provide them all the benefits of breastfeeding anyway. Time is something that we cannot really work on, and this cannot be avoided, unfortunately, because it's kind of mandatory. So having talked about the challenges, some of the expenses that come with breastfeeding, let's compare it with these replacement feeds or the other substitutes that we mothers want to feed our baby because we think it's easier, or our influencers have lied to us that it's easier for us to mix feed or replace breastfeeding with other feeds for our infants because they think it's cool, and the notion that they think that their breasts won't sag or they'll be more sexy, they'll just snap back from motherhood. That notion needs to change, by the way. I don't know what's happened to our society, but I think we need to have a serious mass education on the importance and the benefits of breastfeeding and how to take care of your breast when you're breastfeeding to prevent the sagging. Breastfeeding does not sag breasts. They sag because of weight loss or the weight gain changes and such. Even stress or even hormonal issues can cause breasts to sag, or even age, but not breastfeeding. So we'll talk about that later. Now let's discuss the cost of replacement feeds that your influencer has actually convinced you that it is the best. First thing, a new infant is supposed to be fed at least 6 to 8 times a day. This means that you're going to be running around the house with teens preparing a formula or a feed for a baby every 3 to 4 hours. That is not even the problem. The problem comes with purchasing those things. They are not cheap, as we all know, and for you to effectively maintain these feeds as needed, you are going to need at least 2 teens a week. Do the math and let me know in the comment section. There's also the fact that you need to be ensuring that your house is sterile to prevent the infestation of bacterial agents in those feeding tins, feeding surfaces and such. And to even add on to that, a baby's feed should be discarded immediately after a feed. So if you feed the baby at 12 and they feed a quarter of the amount that you have prepared, you cannot carry forward this feed to the next feed that is expected at 2 or 3. The maximum amount of time that you are actually allowed, it's not even allowed, but you can actually get away with, is actually 1 hour. So after 1 hour, discard the feed regardless of how much it was. There's nothing like, oh, I'm going to store the feed in the fridge and the baby can feed it after 3 or 4 hours. No, that is not allowed. And you remember their guts are very sensitive, so you want to ensure that you're taking care of them as much as you can. The other cost of replacement and mixed feeds comes with the hospital visits that are going to come due to recurrent infections, diarrhea episodes, vomiting episodes, and even digestion issues like constipation. These are very common with babies who are fed on breast milk substitute. Breastfed babies have actually been shown to have better immune response as compared to their counterparts who are fed on replacement or mixed feeding. So breast milk supplies the baby with natural immunoglobulins, lactoferrins, and other components from the colostrum and such that are going to help boost and maintain your baby's immune function. And this will actually help them forge defenses from the external exposures from the environment, the microbes and such. In as much as our food production industries have tried to make them as a close replica as they can to breastfeeding, nothing matches breast milk when it comes to your baby's health and immune system. And hospital costs are not cheap. If you're in Kenya, you understand the cost of healthcare. There's nothing cheap about that. So if you want to avoid the frequent, the excess hospital visits, you want to ensure that you are keeping up with the breastfeeding. Another thing, exposing your babies to this replacement and mixed feeding has also been shown to actually predispose them to metabolic disorders, mental issues, obesity, cancers, and other degenerative non-communicable diseases later on in life. There is data to show that breastfeeding improves and promotes the metabolic health, metabolic functions, and continued proper nutrition throughout childhood, teenagehood, and adulthood will definitely make your baby stand out when it comes to these occurrences of these metabolic disorders. So for you as a mom, it is your role to ensure that you start your baby off right by giving them the right food, and that is breast milk. I hope by now we are on the same page that breast milk or breastfeeding is still a cheaper option compared to the other milk substitute and other replacement feeds. Let's champion for breastfeeding, for exclusive breastfeeding within the first 6 months of life and continued breastfeeding for the next 24 months as recommended, so that your baby can harness all the benefits of breastfeeding and they actually grow and develop well. Make sure that you check out this video next. I talked about how to overcome some of the challenges of breastfeeding, and let's meet there. Like and comment some of your challenges that you are experiencing as a new mom in the comment section down below. I'll definitely be more than glad to address them effectively as soon as I can. And if you're a new mom struggling with breastfeeding, you're struggling with maybe complementary feeds after 6 months, or you want to even be helped with maternal nutrition to ensure that you are at your best when you're breastfeeding, because a healthy mom is a healthy baby, I have a nutrition coaching program. I have partnered with an amazing nutritionist. We charge 3,000 Kenyan shillings per month, and you have access to a community, to resources, to talk about the benefits, the importance, and how to actually support breastfeeding, the psychosocial support that is needed for breastfeeding, because it is very important. And we can also talk about physical meetups every once in a while. Check out the description box for the link about how you can sign up to the coaching program, and I will also pin the first comment with information on how to actually sign up and some details about the coaching program. So let's meet on the next one. Bye.